Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols. I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth, and today from Thomas Nelson, we are featuring a 1611 authorized version, also known as the King James Version, in its original form, a 400-year anniversary hardback edition. So let's take a look. First of all, it comes in this nice little clamshell box with a window, and this window is kind of designed to be able to give you a quick look at the Bible without actually opening the box. This is not one that I use. I bought this off eBay some years ago with never having any intention to use it, and today I decided maybe some folks would like to take a look at it. So again, it is a hardback. It's got a nice clamshell box. It's got a nice paper overboard cover. I do wish that they would have done something a little more ornate. As a matter of fact, I think they did. There's a more expensive version available. This one was a more of an inexpensive economy option. So a couple of facts about the King James that I want to talk to you about. The King James was actually started in 1604, of course, by King James. He formed a committee of 54 scholars. These scholars were set forth to give an update to an English Bible because the Geneva Bible was the most popular Bible of its time, and because the Geneva Bible had some bias according to King James and according to the Church of England, they wanted to have one that didn't have the Reformed notes. They felt they were against the monarchy. And in 1611 it was completed. In 1612 it was available for personal use. And then in 1629 it underwent its first update, its second update in 1638. Then in 1762, Dr. Thomas Paris of Trinity College in Cambridge was responsible for all of these updates, gave it like its largest update. And then in 1769, there were more minor corrections, which led to the King James that we know of and we love today. The initial King James in 1611 was what was called a folio Bible, which is something we often refer to as a pulpit Bible. Now, what is this? This is the absolute largest Cambridge I've ever seen in my life. I may actually review this one day, but today is not that day, but I will let you see the liner. I thought that looks pretty cool. This one's got a big crease in it, so awesome. If you want to see that, you're going to have to let me know in the comments because otherwise I may not get to it. So now let's take a look at this. This is a 1611. In 1612, they actually made them in more personal size like this for use outside of the church by people so they can carry it around a little more easy because you're obviously not going to carry around a big pulpit Bible like that one. That's just used for churches. So with that said, this is a scan or a facsimile, as they call it, of the original 1611. Now, early on, no 1611 was exactly the same because they would use leftover pages from a previous printing because paper was really hard to come by. I don't know which one this particularly is, but they all looked relatively the same. Now you're going to see these scans are not super high quality, but again, this is more for preservation of a work than it is for it to look beautiful. But you can see the original had ornate artwork all throughout. It did include the Apocrypha. It also has the dedicatory letter to King James. And it also has your to the reader from the translators to kind of let you know their reasoning and motive behind the translation. So once you get into more of it, it has kind of your morning and evening prayer plans. It tells you how and on what day to read the Psalms. It tells you what scriptures to read on holy days. So really cool and really useful for its time. It is set to New Times Roman, and then when you get to the beginning, you can see it is the first book of Moses called Genesis. And it does have drop caps. There you go. See, Schuyler did not invent drop caps in your Bibles. They were here in 1611, hundreds of years before. It does have notes and references in the inner and the outer margin. So this is not a new concept. This has been out for hundreds of years. It also has your kind of subtitles at the top, the creation of the world. And this is going to be something very difficult to read. For you King James only people that say we only read the King James, you probably mean the 1769 or one of the Cambridge updates. You don't actually mean the 1611. This was not actually called the King James Version. It was called the Authorized Version. It just later became popularized as the King James Version because, well, King James was behind the translation. So now let's just take a look at a few other pages. Of course, the second book of Moses called Exodus. Again, a big drop cap to start your book. And then each chapter was introduced with a smaller drop cap. Obviously, this is not in full color. So once you get to the middle, for those of you that love the Apocrypha, this does have the Apocrypha in the center between the Testaments. And the reason they did this is because they wanted to make clear in their mind the Apocrypha was not part of the Old or the New Testament. It wasn't part of the Scriptures. They put it in there because they felt it was very useful reading and something good for informational purposes, but they didn't want people to get confused as to whether or not it was actually the Bible. And as you can see in the Apocrypha, it is clearly marked the Apocrypha in the center of the Bible to make sure you understand where you are. And then once you get into the New Testament, you have some artwork to introduce that, and then you get into the Gospel according to St. Matthew. This drop cap is nice and boxed out. The Old Testament ones don't appear to be like that, even the ones that start the book. And once you leave this one, it doesn't seem that any of the other New Testaments are that way. So I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it's still pretty cool. At the end of books, you'll see kind of some little artwork to kind of close it out. What's really weird here is this has the, and then the epistle of Paul the Apostle. So I don't know if that's a mistake. I don't know what happened there. You may have a real live captured mistake in the printing right here in this edition. So once you get to the end, you get to the book of Revelation, and that's it. There's no maps or anything like that. This is a paper liner. It is reinforced. So anyhow, thought you might want to take a quick look at a 400-year anniversary edition of the Authorized Version, also known as the King James Bible. There you have it. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholas Worth.